up and reporting and doing stuff, spending tens of millions of dollars on stuff. On election day, we turn out and then we count for weeks and then we argue for 2 years. Okay? That's a dumb idea. Let's do it in one day like they do it in Europe.
I was going to say, I'm not complaining about our population, say France.
Yeah.
I mean, France is a side of
It's not the population, it's the way we do it. If we have 1,000 people per precinct, then we can do it. But it's their argument, but I was ready with an answer. Okay. It's not the size that matters, it's the how you divide it up. Make sense? So anyway, I know it's complicated, so I'm trying to make it easy for your friends. I mean, we just want people to vote on it. All paper, no machines. And when I was in Wisconsin, every single county I went to, they said, Dr. Frank, we can't take the machines away because of HAVA. And what do you mean because of HAVA? Well, federal law requires us to have machines for handicapped people. That's not true. It recommends certain machines for handicapped people, but it's just perfectly fine to have deputies to do that job or somebody to help a person that's handicapped. And I always put a picture of my daughter Nellie up here at this point. She just had her birthday last week. She's 25. She's handicapped. She has Down syndrome. And I take her to all my events whenever I'm near Cincinnati. And so she knows all the politicians. And so when I went to vote, I brought her along with me because she knows all the people on the ballot. She votes for the ones she's hugged. She knows. And she voted just fine. Because I looked over her shoulder and there was a deputy there. And she voted just fine all by herself. She voted for all the ones. She goes, I love Joe. I love Mark. Down to the kids are like extra sweet. And she voted for who she loves, okay? So we don't need machines for handicapped people. That's a lie. If your clerk tells you that, that's not the truth. You want to know what the truth is? If they take the machine, they get federal money. There you go.
All about the money,
Oh, you can't afford those expensive machines. Let's help you. Thanks a lot. You know, when I was, this is off topic, when I was in South Carolina, I was at a meeting with the head clerk in South Carolina for the whole state. 3 weeks before the 2020 election, Mark Zuckerberg bought $76 million of new election equipment and gave it to South Carolina. A gift. All they had to do was just set the machines out and watch. The clerks didn't control the rolls, the clerks didn't make the tallies, the clerks didn't do anything. They just set the machines out and let it happen.
Stand there and observe.
And afterwards they put the machines away. And by the way, South Carolina is the most predictable state in the country. My math, I can predict down to the Nats, down to the precinct level, everything about that state. I wonder why. Because it's totally centrally controlled. Okay, anyway. So that's, why did I think of this idea of vote Amish? It's funny, but it's true.
It's crazy.
In Ohio, 60,000 Amish people came out and voted for the first time in Ohio in 2020. They'd never, 60,000. They voted in one day, and they voted on paper. And so I want to make them like the poster children for the country, right? We can all vote.
It's like
Amish.
98% conservative,
All
probably.
paper, no machines, and we can do that. All right.
You know who they voted?
I don't know who they voted for, but I suspect it was not for a tyrant governor. You guys think you have a tyrant here? Our governor, Mike DeWine, is a Republican, and he shut our schools down before you shut yours down. Okay, so I want to, and he's the one. Our governor was the one who had big lotteries for people to get vaccinations. They would get $1 million scholarships. That's our tyrant.
Our guy did that, though.
Okay? So
He was
I
handing
don't
out
buy
some
this Republican
craziness.
Democrat stuff anymore. Okay, they're back. Okay, all right. So anyway, I already told you that. We're done. All right, take wreck our country, guys. We're going to need to get rid of machines, perform our elections with our own 2 hands and our own 2 feet. Okay, we need to do it. We need to do it. By the goes of Noah's feet. Okay. One more thing, I got to show you data. So far, but I taught you a lot already, right? Yeah. Okay, good. So this is in the Capitol building of Wisconsin. I've been in a lot of Capitol buildings. In the early days, there were a lot of legislators that were concerned about election integrity, and they were writing laws. And they would invite me in to speak to the legislature. because what they wanted me to do is get up and tell the legislature how great their new law was, right? That was the point, right? I'm like, hey, bring the expert in, talk about how great their new law is, except they were horrible laws. They were horrible, and so I would arrive a day early, we'd look at it together, and I'd go, wow, this is really bad, and then he'd go, what do you mean, what do you mean? You gotta realize is our legislators are not election experts. I mean, we kind of take it for granted. No, they're accountants, they're lawyers, they're farmers, they're whatever they are in life. They're not election experts. They're crooks. They're crooks. They're good at that. So I ended up spending most of my time whenever with the legislature just teaching them how our elections work. And I'm going to give you an example of that in a minute. So anyway, I was in the state of Wisconsin. This is a huge, it's in their dome. Beautiful, and it's 40 foot wide, it's a 100-year-old mosaic, it's beautiful. It's Lady Liberty, and with one hand she's pointing towards heaven, because that's the source of our liberty. Our unalienable rights are from God, right? Our founding documents state that explicitly. You don't give me my rights, the government doesn't give me my rights, God gives me my rights, and they're unalienable, end story. But her other hand is protecting the ballot box. Because that's how we protect our liberty, and that's why we've lost our liberty, because we've lost the ballot box. Your states have taken your ballot boxes from you. In California, your state has taken them away. And you need to take them back to your own local county. You need to be in charge of your own election. As long as you stay plugged into Big Brother, you're over with. They own your elections, okay? So that's what this is all about. All right, I'm going to jump ahead. This was from my church sermon the other day, so I'm going to jump past that. Okay, they weren't in church, it could be a sermon. That's right. Okay, so here's the solution. The solution is education is key, but the fix is local.
Trying.
So I don't want you to try to fix California. I want you to fix your own community.
I'm trying.
Work on your own community. Work on your own precinct. Work on your own county. Because as you're doing that county by county, then that can percolate up and fix the state. You can't fix the state, trust me, I tried that at first. I thought smarty pants could come in and save the day.
I did that state assembly. State assembly over and
They
over.
already know. I'll tell you one more story, because I'm teaching you. This isn't just for fun. So I was in, I can't tell you which state, I don't give it away. I was in a big southern state. And I had a state senator with me and the head clerk of that state. She'd arranged this meeting, I was at 11 o'clock in the morning. And so I started explaining things, and he at about 10 minutes into it, kind of leans back in his chair and goes, yeah, we know we have tens of thousands of ballots being stuffed in all of our counties. Just like that. And the senator's whole state would blow up, and everyone would lose faith in our elections. Unquote. Wow. That is a direct quote, word for word. I've had witnesses. Jesus confirmed that's exactly the right quote. Now, you need to know, that was on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock. Friday morning at 11 o'clock, I was sitting in the same state, the Attorney General of that state. This was a year ago, actually, because I was getting the signatures for Mike's Supreme Court complaint. I was visiting secretaries of states. So I'm sitting there with the Attorney General, and I pull out my laptop to show him the fraud, because that's okay, Dr. Frank, you don't need to do that. I'm like, well, no, I need to show you why you need to sign this complaint. And he's like, no, he says, we already know we have tens of thousands of ballots being stuffed in our counties. There's almost a direct quote of what the head clerk said the morning before. This is a red conservative state I'm telling you about. They already know. And I already told you about Kansas. They already know. So this isn't about conservative or liberal, and they already know that the ballot stuffing is going on. Okay, it's not. So the fix is local. I've already tried talking to the top. A lot of the mistakes we made in the early days is we not got a bunch of affidavits and then we turn them into the Secretary of State. Woo, save the world. Anything happen? No. Why? Because they already know. They're already not taking action. You have to take action local, which is why I love the small counties. The small counties, your kids and my kids go to school together, okay? And by the way, you're the county commissioner. What do you mean you're not, going to protect our elections? What's wrong with you? I voted for you, right? People have access, and they go to the sheriff and they say, wait a minute, you're supposed to be protecting my constitutional rights. What's up with you, bub? Right? I mean, it works. In the big blue counties, it's hard because you have less power as an individual citizen. So the fix is local. as you guys fix your county, the other counties, you all team up together, I'm gonna be going around the country bragging about you guys. Okay? All right. Doesn't take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting the brush fires of freedom.
That's what the left has done.
All it takes, just a few. Two
That's
ladies,
exactly the
one
left,
more
burning
victory
it
story.
down.
Two ladies and a priest organized Nebraska. We did canvassing, we found it, we met with critical
It's the
legislators.
truth.
Do you know that in Nebraska, we had taken over the GOP?
Yay.
They built a strategy, and they are putting in their own representative. And now, I was just invited last week to go in and help them write their new election legislation.
Wow.
And Nebraska is where the home of ES&S is. Are you kidding? This is so cool. So, two ladies and a priest is all it took in Nebraska. Okay. So it doesn't take a lot of it. All right. And one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is you end up being governed by your inferiors. That's what Plato said, and he's exactly right. My whole life I was told, you don't want to be involved in politics. Go work in science, it's clean and pure. Go work in science, clean and pure. If you get involved in politics, you're with those yucky, ucky, mucky people, right? Well, guess what? If you don't get involved, then it's all yucky, yucky, mucky people involved in politics. So you gotta get involved. Very exciting to me. I see it all over the country. Moms are running for school boards. It's amazing. All over. It's amazing. What country's waking up? It's awesome.
Yeah, don't forget the dads, man.
You know, that's our mistake. We can talk about that another time. Canvassing Irish thing.
It's like, damn.
Let me just hit one point though about it. Canvassing is important for three reasons. The first reason is you convert people in the neighborhood. Because there's about one house per neighborhood with fraud in there. And so if
We're
you
working
find
on
that
that,
house,
too.
they tell everybody else in their neighborhood. The word spreads. The second thing that happens is you found it with your own hands. So that's not just Dr. Frank telling you. You found it with your own hands, and that's very motivating. And everybody who I've done this with, I promise, it's like it turns into a treasure hunt. It's like they're spending late hours into the night, every night, trying to find who they can knock on doors next. You know what I'm talking about. It's like it grabs a hold of you. So the first thing is you're making converts in the neighborhood. Second thing is, it's like you got saved. You just can't, you tell everybody. And you get possessed by it. And then the third thing is you collect the affidavits.
Right.
That then you're not just a conspiracy theorist anymore. You have real evidence of actual fraud that you can go to your sheriff with, or you can go to your county commissioners, and you can go to your community with, and share what's going on, that it's real, that there really is a problem. Until you have that evidence, all this yelling and screaming we do just makes us sound like conspiracy records. Yes, sir.
I have some evidence.
Yeah.
Let me show you real quick.
Can we do it after?
Yes, sir, but 500,000 votes online, we can do it after.
500,000 votes online, that sounds pretty good. All right. I believe you, brother. By the way, if it's only digital, that's a problem. We have to, so, it's a little bit of a diversion, but when people bring the evidence, I say, great. But if you take that to a sheriff, nothing will happen. If you take that, you have to go confirm with your hands and feet, and we'll talk about that. That's a good discussion point later, okay? Thank you. All right, I already did all my introductory stuff. Let me show you a simple example so you'll understand what's going on. This is from Wisconsin. I got invited to a secret meeting with Speaker Voss, Speaker of the House, Robin Voss of Wisconsin. And it was me and Sean Smith, Colonel Smith. His job with the Air Force, he retired from the Air Force, he's a retired colonel. He was in charge of defending Air Force electronics from malware and intrusions. He did operational testing, it's called. And he managed all the teams that were protecting the Air Force electronics. That's what he did. He retired in 2020, and after the election, he kind of went, that didn't look right to me. And so he started reading all the technical manuals and researching the equipment, and he was like, this is totally porous stuff. So he's been really fun to travel around with. I team up with him. He's going to be tomorrow. So, his job was to show Speaker Voss about 70 different ways we could hack into their machine. I'm not exaggerating. There's 70 different ways. My job was to show him his data, and John Eastman's job was to show him what to do about it. So after we convinced him and red-pilled him that his data was full of fraud, we were going to give him a plan of action. Well, I was about 15 minutes into my presentation to him, and he stopped me and he said, Dr. Frank, he says, I just don't believe we have that much fraud in our state. And I said, why do you think that? And he said, because we've done recounts in our 3 largest counties. And all the recounts come out just right. And so I told him, I said, sir, it doesn't matter how many times you count the cash in the register. What matters is how many of the bills are counterfeit. The problem with our elections is you can count the ballots till the cows come home. What matters is, did they come from who you think they came from? Did I already tell you about Maricopa? The one thing, you only need to know one thing about the Maricopa audit, and that's that when they brought the ballots out to do the recount, there were about 1,550 boxes that stored the 2.1 million ballots. When they brought out those boxes, only 50 of the boxes still had their seals intact. All the rest of the boxes, the seals were broken. What good is that recount? Okay, you have no chain of custody. It's over, right? That's it. So, in other words, it doesn't matter how many times you count those ballots. What matters is, were they real ballots? Did they really come from whom we think they came from, right? But you don't know, because the chain of custody is broken. Because that's the real problem. By the way, Mr. Voss, Robin Voss, it was a secret meeting with him, right? But they found out the conspiracy guy was in town. And 10 television stations were waiting for him outside the rooms. And they cornered him against the wall. I swear, that's a corner. They got him cornered in a wall. And they cornered against the wall, and they started peppering him with questions. And he admitted to the whole world that there's widespread fraud in Wisconsin, more than sufficient than the margins in their elections. He admitted it. And they said, what are you going to do about it? He says, there's nothing we can do about it. I swear, that's what he said. I'll answer that question. The reason we had John Eastman with us is because he's a constitutional scholar. And we explained to Robin Voss what his constitutional powers are. The Constitution is explicit about this. There's no ambiguity. There's only one body in the state that has authority over how they attribute federal electors, such as your electoral college, your U.S. senators, your U.S. congresspeople. There's only one body that has authority. It's called plenary authority. It's the legislature. The governor has nothing to do with it. The Secretary of State has nothing to do with it. The legislature has sole authority. If they wanted, your legislature could nullify the whole election and appoint people to send to Congress. They have sole authority on all federal offices, sir.
So what do we do in a state like California that is a supermajority and we have a super minority?
You're not going to ever be able to get anything legislative done here.
No.
So I don't want you to try to fix that. I want you to fix local, where you have power. See where I'm going?
Yep.
The fix is local.
All right.
And all we really, when you think about California, all you really need is 3 or 4 counties to get together and say, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Your whole state would go radioactive. And I think we're close.
Yeah.
We got
Placer County, El Dorado.
A couple of counties teetering already. And that's why it's super important that a lot of counties do it, because the more fraud you keep finding,
Right.
it's not just us, everybody starts finding it everywhere. It's important that we expose that.
Okay.
And you notice, I haven't made any hypotheses yet. I'm telling you, you are finding fraud. I'm reporting to you that you are finding fraud. I'm not saying you're going to be finding. No, you are finding fraud. He just mentioned 1,000 affidavits. Those are clear cases of fraud. I'll just tell you one more story. So in Fresno, I was there about 3 months ago, and I met with 2 gals there. I'm telling you, it only takes a couple.
And a priest?
And I gave them lists, and they couldn't wait to form teams. They just went out themselves the first weekend. And, well, actually, I'm wrong. They had a few friends with them. And they found about 30 abandoned voters, like in 2 hours on Saturday. And one of them went out the next day all by herself, not allowed to do that. He always goes in pairs. But she went into this low-income neighborhood, and she found a whole bunch more. So then I was in a Zoom call when they presented to the county commissioners in Fresno. And they were all like, our election's perfect here. So the first thing we did, we just took out the stat. They said, well, what about this dead voter? And so the county clerk, the ROV, has his computer there. He says, what do you mean? Click, 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 click. He brings them up and goes, yeah, that person voted. She says, here's the death certificate from 2006. And he goes, well, yeah, it says here that, he didn't vote from 2006 to 2016, but he's voted in 4 elections since.
Yeah. Convenient.
Next, we gave him the next one, same story. Gave him another one, same story. That was it. We just gave him 3 death examples. Then we started giving the people that live in another state example, one after another. By the end of that meeting, they weren't all, look how perfect our elections are. They were like squirming in their chairs like they got pinworms. It was awesome. It was awesome, okay? And now they're on our side because they know that we can deliver. We can deliver the fraud, okay? And that was just 2 ladies that couldn't wait to form teams and went out on one weekend. You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
Wait till we're organized,
Yeah.
and they have been organized, and a lot more. So the point
Organization.
this is not just mom and pop kind of fraud, this is systemic fraud, and once they realize it, now guess what? They're gonna have to do something. All right, I think I've spent enough time on this. I gotta get some data. Oh yeah, I need to show you these data. All right, I'm teaching you, because I'm about to show you.
Sorry, can't see the screen. Just straight white.
This is the 3 most populous counties in Wisconsin, and I'm showing them as a percentage, because they're different sizes.
Waukesha, Milwaukee, and Dane.
And I showed them to him, and I said, so Caesar, this is Robin Boss, I said, notice Caesar from 2009 to present, and these are your 3 largest counties, how many people are in your rolls? And you notice that right before 2012, you fill up the rolls, and those people vote, and then you take them out.
What?
And then before 2014, you don't put as many, and you take them out again. And then before 2016, look, you filled them right back up again. And then after 2016, you took out 1/4 of your voters. Can you imagine taking 1/4 of the voters out after the election? And then by 2020, they're all back again. Okay. You know what he said to me? There's a lot of turnover in those big counties. I am not kidding you. He said that. There are a lot of turnover. I looked at him, I said, 25%? He says, yeah, there's a lot there. I said, well, look, let's look at all of your counties.
Oh my God.
All of your counties. Every one of their counties, okay? That ain't natural, buddy. That ain't natural.
You can't hide from statistics. They're just there. It's just there.
Counties run their own elections independently.
It's like Biden's blip. Remember in 2020 it said straight up, they're all mail-in ballots. You're like, sure.
That looks centrally controlled to me.
It does. Yep.
Okay, so I actually put this into evidence on December 8th.
See if I
at a
can
formal
show it.
testimony before the legislature. This waves created a shockwaves across the state of Wisconsin. Nobody had ever seen this before, except that all these data are on their webpage. I got this right from the state webpage. Except nobody ever graphed it. It took me 3 days to get all these data downloaded and organized so I could even graph them. Do you understand? So in other words, the reason why nobody ever saw it is because you have to be a geek. You have to want to do it, you have to know you need to do it. You know what I'm saying? And so, and how to do it, exactly. And so, I mean, that was a lot of work. But you get the point, yes? And so, that's one of the things I do. I go state to state and I do this analysis, and I did this in California too. The difference is that here I could go to every county and I could get the data by month, by month, by month. California, you guys are way too tight with your info. I can only do it every couple of years. And so I'll be able to give you a graph, but it won't be
Yeah,
quite
wonder
as
why
graph.
that is.
It gives you the principle.
When are you gonna get us that now?
What graph? Here it comes, baby. So in a nutshell, you need to understand, in a nutshell, how they're manipulating our elections is before the election, they make sure there's lots of people in the rolls who aren't real voters. Get it? Lots of people in the rolls who are not real voters. That's the first step. Then during the election, they monitor who's voted. Let's say you're behind in the election 8 to 10, and you want to be ahead. Well, you stuffed 4 ballots, now you're ahead 12 to 10. In order to do that, you need to know what the tally was. That's why the machines are important, because the machines are important tallies. You need to know who's not voted yet. so you know who to stuff ballots for. Get it? And you need to have access to the ballot styles and whatnot, so you can print the ballots and stuff them, et cetera. That's how Milwaukee can receive 120,000 more ballots than they sent out. Somebody knows their ballot styles.
Is that why our election is so close this last time? Remember how close every election was?
I don't know. I don't know if I agree that they were all close. You're talking about 2022? Oh man, it just came from Dallas. They weren't close at all. They're freaking out over there. It's like, we're more conservative than this. How are we losing 70-30? Right? They were.
70-30, it's interesting how the numbers.
It is.
These two end up close to the same.
Isn't that amazing? So, before the election, they make sure there's lots of people in the rolls. During the election, they're tracking. And by the way, you do that. You use electronic poll books. So all those early days where the ballots are coming in by mail, that's being recorded electronically and reported to the candidates. Did you know that? One of the things that, this is a lie that, well, it's not a lie, it's what actually happens. Politicians love knowing where they stand in elections. So they pass laws that say, every day we're gonna report who mailed in their ballot. That way they can say, ooh, precinct 13, we didn't get it. I gotta get a better turnout. Call the troops, get them to turn out precinct 13.
How come I didn't get
The
that
politicians think they like that. But the problem is that they know it,
You gotta pay for it?
so do the bad
You know what I'm
guys.
saying?
And what they're doing is they're just trying to round up voters. The bad guys just say, hey, we need 37 more ballots. Get printed. They don't have to go round up people. See where I'm going? And then after the election, they clean up. So basically, that's it. Beforehand, you fill the rolls. During, you hack, track, and stuff. And then afterwards, you clean up. Get it?
Hack,
In
track,
other
and
words, it's
stuff.
machine stupid. Because all of that requires computer access and et cetera. You saw 2,000 Mules? Yes. Okay, I like that movie, but I don't like that movie. I like it because you get to see stuffing with your own eyes. And in the early days, as I was going around the country teaching this, it's hard to explain stuffing to people. But when they see it, they understand. There's just something about it, right?
Yeah.
It's legal in California, yes. The thing
Stuffing,
about it
stuffing,
is-
stuffing, stuffing.
Yeah, I know. But the thing about stuffing is you gotta realize this is just the symptom of the fraud. This is not the actual fraud. What you need to realize is every one of those ballots has a name assigned to it. Where did they get the name? How did they know that person hadn't voted? Where did they harvest that ballot?
For real.
That's where all the fraud is happening. These are just drug addicts and homeless people making $10 for every ballot they deliver, right? That's all it is. And, you know, I saw an article the other day from Arizona. It said the sheriffs were arresting the mules and they were singing like canaries. Isn't that a good headline? So and the article describes how they arrested the mules send them to the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, send them to the NGOs where they got them. And that's where the CTCL money was flowing into the NGOs, so the money was given to them to deliver the ballots. And then the question is where do they get the ballots? From the printers and the postmen. Yes.
In our state, you can print your own at home.
Imagine that. So in your state, it's so easy to steal. In Pennsylvania, they have these easy voter card kiosks. You just put your name in and it printed it for you. You give you the envelopes right there, no ID, no signature, nothing. You drop it in the box. It was incredible. Anyway, I think that idea is clear now. But Dr. Frank, the machines are not connected to the internet. All right, this is a recording. I don't want to play it, but that's a recording of the Dominion official in Colorado explaining how every one of their machines has a modem in it, which we already knew. But anyway, he said everything nowadays has Wi-Fi in it. We just turn them off with passwords. That's what he said, essentially.
Yeah.
And then the citizen asked him, well, but how do you know those aren't being used nefariously? He says, oh, no, only the Secretary of State and the vendor has the passwords. Did I tell you the story yet about the phone? I have to tell you that story. Then you'll love it. So I spoke at, I'm not going to give it away. It was a large state GOP convention, and they made the theme this year about election integrity. And they had like 10,000 people show up. They usually have like 1,500 people, but about election integrity, people flood into the GOP convention, and I'm the keynote speaker on Saturday night, and I said a lot of things. And then the Secretary of State of that state was really unhappy with me. So he invited me to his home the next day. I spent 6 hours across his kitchen table from him. And the first 3 hours, I was explaining all the fraud, saying, explain to me what you were saying last night. So I kind of went through it all with him. And about 3 hours into it or so, he says, I understand what you're saying, but in order for this to happen, you'd have to have access to our machine. I said, right. He says, you can't do it. Because we have the state of the art. We are the gold standard in the country. We have the most secure computer networks in the country. He says, even on my phone, I have this little alert. It alerts me if anybody ever gets in any of our networks. We got federal monitoring. I already told you about that. We got federal monitoring. We've got all these protections. There's no way you get into our machines. I said, well, okay. He's the Secretary of State, so this is legal for you to do this. So I took my phone out, I sent it between us, and I called my friend. Within 5 minutes, we told him his username and password to the computer on his desk at work, where all the passwords are. We got all the passwords, and then we went on a little trip through the state, county after county, hacking into every county system. We could tell them which EMS, election management system, which ones were online, how many machines they had that were online, what they were doing at that time. We could just county after county after county. After about 15 minutes, he says, okay, that's enough. So we have some secretaries of states that believe they're secure, like him, and then we have some that are just stupid, and then we have some that are corrupt, okay? And he was just, I don't think he's stupid, I think he just believed he was secure and he taught. Okay, I'll tell you one more. These are fun, but they're true and they teach you so much, and I don't mind giving this one away. I'm sitting in Missouri, in the state capitol building with the Secretary of State Ashcroft and the Attorney General Schmidt, and about 30 of their county clerks, and we're in a basement building with 2 big screens, bigger than this. And Mike is there with me, and Mike gives his pitch, and then I show my data, and then it was the hacker's turn. He came up on the Zoom, and it's blank screen. And he says, yes, I'm hacking into your system now, blah, blah, blah. And he starts listing all the usernames and passwords for all the clerks that are there on the screen. And then there's this one guy, I won't tell you his name, but he goes, my username and password isn't up there. So you hear this, click, 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 you see him on the Zoom, and all the lights go off in the room. Like you're in a basement room, it's like, whoa, it's dark here. And lights all come back on again, and you hear, did all the lights just go off in your room? We're in the Capitol building in Missouri. And he is hacked into that room through the thermostats in that room. Okay, it's awesome. Okay. So, but then, and then that guy, that obnoxious guy's password goes by. So, in other words, we are teaching these people that they are not secure. Okay? And tomorrow, I shouldn't be talking about that. Tomorrow I'm in a meeting, but I love bringing along Sean Smith with me because he can tell you all the military stories about how the military is not insecure, and banks are not secure, and we think our governments are secure. They're the worst. They're the most penetrable. Okay. So anyway, I told enough. Are you getting the point? Yeah. Okay, good. I can move on. I think. I don't know. I shouldn't be sorry. I'm sorry. It's not a public meeting. I'm sorry. Okay. I should have said It's not a public meeting. That's what I mean. I'm at work during the day. That's work. That's important work we're doing it. Okay. You're welcome. So this happened in May, and this will be the last story I tell you about this, but you need to, I'm teaching you. These aren't just random stories. I'm teaching you. So I was in, and I'm always in the right place at the right time. I was in Oregon in May when this happened. A local citizen asked for a copy of the rolls. The clerk said no. So the citizen went to the DA, and the DA ordered the clerk to give him the rolls. So he gives him a disc of the rolls. He goes home, puts the disc in his computer, he looks, wait a minute. It's all the ballot images. It's the SQL database backup. It's all the logs. It's everything. She gave him a backup of everything. Okay? Why would that happen? Because clerks don't know what they're doing. They're not IT people, right? They don't even know how to back up their systems, right? She's just doing what she thinks she needs to do. When the Secretary of State of Oregon found out, she panicked. And she ordered the AG of Oregon to file a temporary restraining order so that he could not release those data to the public. This just happened in May. This is what it says in the restraining order. Quote, even when systems are not directly connected to networks, they are vulnerable to attack through physical or wireless access. It's the AG of Oregon admitting it. Do you see this? Do you understand? Okay, I love this sentence. Further, such a disclosure creates risk to elections infrastructure to any jurisdiction nationally using this system. You know why? Because once you know the logs and you know what the machines are logging and where they're reporting, it exposes the IP addresses. 2 weeks ago, just as I was leaving Wisconsin, somebody subpoenaed the records from one of the election management systems. And you know how some of the, I don't know which one you have, your Dominion here, I don't know which one. Okay. When you take the thumb drive out from your machine and go and put it into the EMS, they got the logs of everything that happened at that moment in a similar system in Wisconsin. What happened is it tallied the votes, it reported it to the county, it reported to the state, and then it reported it on WhiskNet. That's a public information network that's nationwide. And guess what? That's what this is reporting to. In real time. How do we know? Because I signed an NDA and I got to see all that stuff, right? We had a court case, and that's the court case that I was flying back from when they took my phone in Cincinnati. And I got to be in the witness stand. We got to put the clerk of this county in the witness stand, and we got her to admit under oath that every one of her scanning machines, not her EMS, every one of her ballot scanning machines has a modem in it that she turns on and off with a mouse click, not even a password. Why would she do that?
Why would you, really?
She does that because that's at the end of the day when she reports the tallies from each of the machines. Those are supposed to be behind the so-called air gap that they always talk about. Any computer person knows as soon as you're on the internet, the entire system is now hacked. Okay? You get the idea? This was clear ballot, but they also have to be, they have 3 different vendors there, like you guys have 4 different vendors here.
Are they all the same, basically?
Yes, yes, they are all the same, yeah. ESNS, some of the counties here, ESNS, I don't have to get into this. I could go on now for an hour showing you all the different election companies and all the election machines. They all have, and it's no longer an argument. If your clerk is still telling you that, if your ROB is still telling you that, they're either lying to you or ignorant, okay? We've already proven it. You have the, it's crazy. The Alderman report came out in 2021. By the way, this report was commissioned by Hillary Clinton. Because remember in 2016, the Russians hacked our elections, remember? So for 4 years, we had to listen to the Russians hacked us and were horrible, and they did federal testimony on all the ways our machines are hackable. For 4 years, we all listened to that, just like Jack was saying, right? She commissioned Professor Halderman and his graduate students. They presented a report in court in Georgia in 2021 showing how to hack into every election system in our country and how to manipulate every one. And the judge ordered that sealed. That report was given to the CISA, Center for Internet Security, and they basically informed all the secretaries of states around the country, guess what? You're vulnerable. And now all the secretaries of states are admitting it. This is Ashcroft from Missouri. Admitting, yeah, all our machines are vulnerable, watch out, right? He's such a snake. Oh, he's such a snake. I shook his hand and made a deal eye to eye with him, and he reneged on it. And then another deal with him, eye to eye, shook his hand, and he reneged on it twice. He didn't think we could produce the phantom ballots. He thinks that it's all, conspiracy theory. So I sent out my teams, they came up with 270 phantom ballots, we brought it to him, showed it to him. He found one that wasn't a phantom ballot. And there was an explanation for it. It was a legal explanation. In Missouri, you're allowed to vote even if you live in another country. Even if you lived here 20 years ago, you can still vote from that address. And That's legal in that state. And we had found that, and he says that's legal, you're allowed to do that. So we sent the teams out again, and we got another 350 or so, and we made sure we didn't have any of those. We brought those to him that time. He promised me, swore eye to eye, shaking hands, that he would launch a full-scale investigation and tell the public how it came out, and he refused. He's a snake. Well, see, there you go. Okay, all right, who's gonna apologize to Mike Lindell? All right, let's do some simple math. How are we doing here? All right, I tell you what, I'm gonna skip this part to get to more California data, but let me just tell you in summary, you can see this online. I already told you, 8 states have more people in them than they have, more voters registered than they have people. And I was just gonna show you that. I'm gonna show you that there are 8 states.
I mean, it's California, New York.
And that's available online. And then I was gonna show you California. California's a special situation. I've done this talk before. But if I were to show you, let me just show you all the states all at once here. I'm gonna do this fast. Here we go. So what this is on this axis, here we go. Here we go. On this axis, I'm showing you the percentage of people who are registered that are voting age. And I'm showing you on this axis the people voting age that voted. And I can show it to you for every state in the country. These are the 7 states that have 7 states that have more people registered than they have people. Maine, Vermont, Michigan, New Hampshire, Alaska, Kentucky, North Dakota. Wait, Dr. Frank, Kentucky's Mitch McConnell, man, that's conservative.
That's why he keeps winning.
Are you kidding? I testified in 3 of those states. Man, I'm afraid I get out of there with my skin. I'm afraid. That is amazing. Okay, and then here's the rest of the country. And if you ask voters how many people are registered, they'll usually tell you between 60 and 70%. And so this is where it should be. All of our states are in this zone. Now, when I first made this graph, I was surprised to see California here. But then you got to remember something. You got to remember that I'm showing you versus 18 and older, not eligible voters. 18 and older. And in California, you have a lot of people 18 and older that are not eligible voters. Yes. And so I looked at, oh, by the way, Oregon moved all of their inactives to actives. So they're the 8 states that have more. They took their inactive rolls and made them active. So they're mailing ballots to everybody. All right. And I was surprised by this, so I looked it up, and your Secretary of State did us a favor and told us that 88% of your eligible people are registered. Motor voter. Motor voters.
Motor voters.
And since I know that, I can take the total people that are registered and divide by 8%.
She is one again.
What your true 18 and older population is, instead of this inflated one. So I can go back to this graph and I can fix it. That's really where you are. Okay? And right here, you have about 88% of all of your eligible people registered to vote, and about 72% of them voting. And the thing is the more you go this direction, the worse it is, because the polls are getting dirtier and dirtier, and you're getting more and more turnout. That's not a good situation. You're right up there with Wisconsin and Iowa and Colorado and Montana and Minnesota. You're right up there with Worcester. So, anyways, that's
We're becoming a banana republic.
all right, let's look at California here. All right. By the way, I finally got invited to Wyoming, so I'm gonna try to figure it out. I was just in North last month. They have the weirdest election system there. North Dakota. They don't keep voter rolls. Everybody come on out and vote. And then they give the total afterwards. And nobody audits it. You just believe it. And I look at these people and like, nobody questions it, and they say, no, we just trust them. I promise, they say it's like.
Altruism, dude, it's our downfall.
Literally, they said that. I'm not kidding you. And so I talked to the Secretary of State, I met with him and talked with him, and he's literally shaking in his boots. Because I'm saying, how come you have more people in your rolls than you have people? Well, we don't use the rolls, we just use the census. I said, yeah, but the total number you say are eligible is way more than the census. Can't be Dr. Frank, because we use the census, so I show him the census. He's more than the census. So it's, oh, no, okay, yeah, maybe, yeah. Get on top. All right, here's your population. 1990 to present, this is how many people in California are voting age or older. This is not how many people are eligible to vote. This is how many people are voting age or older. I should probably change this graph, bring that down to the vote eligible, but we'll leave it there for now, okay?
Or add a line.
But anyway, that's who's 18 and older, and this is the number of registrants. And you notice it also, it's just like my Wisconsin graph, but I can only show it to you every 2 years, because that's the only data I can get online with you guys. I can't get it month to month. So this is like a federal election midterm, federal midterm. See that? See that oscillation? And then this is the number of people who voted. And a couple of things to notice right off. Remember I said that before 2000, the oscillations were small, and then after 2000, the oscillations are big.
Yeah.
That's in every state, and there's a reason for that. And I'll come back to that in a minute. You know, it's the increasing volatility. There's a reason to explain that. But then I want you to see that the population trend, the rolls are growing faster than your population trend. And if you just figure out what that is, it's about 800,000 more people are in the rolls than are justified by your population. So if your population,
They're just
you would
fake
expect it
people?
to go together, but there are lots of things happening. One of the things that's happening is you're getting voter, right? And we started that in 2014. So everybody who gets a license is automatically put in the rolls. So you expect it to be growing faster than the population. Also, you're not cleaning your rolls up. Your judicial will improve that. So that's not a surprise. But that gives you a number of things, right? Let's just say for now, round numbers, you got about 1 million people in your rolls that shouldn't be in your rolls. Okay, makes sense. All right, I can do this for every single county, but it's hard to see this way because Los Angeles dwarfs them all, right? So I'm going to do like I did in Wisconsin. I'm going to normalize it to 100% so that you can see every county. So now you're looking at every county in California. This is the number of people in the rolls in every county. And you notice this is what the rolls used to look like, but now this is what the rolls look like. They're all filling up. They're filling up, and you notice that they're surging since 2014. The rolls are surging.
Obama.
And I can do the same thing for voters as well. How many votes you got? It's hard to see. You can see federal midterm, right? You see that? By the way, people are always saying, Dr. Frank, why do you focus on 2020 so much? You know, that was a strange year because of COVID and Trump. Look at 2018. You had more people voting in 2018 than you had in federal elections. In the midterm. In other words, look at compared to the previous midterm. I mean, this is a huge anomaly before the election. This is all of your counties normalized. And I want you to notice, this is what random elections look like. This is what controlled elections look like.
That's ridiculous, dude. That's like,
See it with your own eyes. I can
Whoa,
give you a
look at
technical
this.
definition, but that ain't natural.
crazy. You see that? That is not a natural graph.
Organic?
Not organic at all.
2000.
After 2000, all across the country, the rolls were all stuck, and I'm going to show you an example of that. Here's Sacramento, because I'm in Sacramento, and I want you to notice, here's your population steadily going up, and then you notice that your volatility, when did your volatility start increasing? After 2000, just like everywhere else. And if I do the population trend thing, here you've got about 150,000 more people in your rolls than you should. By the way, what is that? Out of about 800,000? Looks like you're maybe 15 to 20%. Too many people in your rolls. And that's exactly what I find everywhere.
Just enough to take every election and win.
And I don't even think you're alone. I can do every
15%. I mean,
every single county
lose
in
by 10 and still win by 5.
That they're all, every single county in your state.
Should we say Orangeville?
San Diego.
Yeah, I was just there, it's one of the worst. Yeah. It's worse, yeah. All right, so I need to show you something. And then I'll show you some more California data, and then I think we're gonna be done. So,
I made this graph during Christmas last year. And it's for the whole country, and since it's 1960, it shows you the number of people of voting age, and then the turnout, and then the number of votes. And I noticed when I made this graph, there's an inflection point right in 1996. And when I did it, it's like, 1996, what is 1996? I know that number so well, I couldn't remember where it was, 1996. But when I look at the population, that's not gonna cause the inflection point. But if I start from 1996 and figure it out, how much of an increase is that? Across the whole country, we have 30 million more votes coming in than we would expect based upon population growth. So the votes are growing faster than the population.
30
By
million more
about
votes.
10%.
That's
30 million
ridiculous.
out of 300 million.
No wonder Joe Biden got
About
80 million
10%.
votes.
It's just an approximate number. Then I remembered where I remembered 1996. Remember I told you I worked with the Pennsylvania State Legislature? They gave me anything I asked for. And I was working in Montgomery County, one of the most corrupt in the country. And they gave me all the historical records. So I drew up all the historical records and I made this graph. This is everybody who's ever been registered ever in Montgomery County since 1900. And what it is this is the year that people were registered, and this is how old they were. And so you notice in the most current year, right here in front, you notice the 18-year-olds were the most prominent people getting registered. That's not a surprise. In fact, in the previous years, every year just about, it's the 18-year-olds that are the predominant people getting registered. You can see some older people getting registered, which makes sense, people are moving in and they get registered when they move in. But most of it is the 18-year-olds. However, in 1996, which is the number I was remembering, there was this blob. And the blob is 50,000 voters in a county with 500,000 people. How many is that?
10%.
10%. So I made this graph in the previous Christmas. This was not from my country in Pennsylvania. The thing is after seeing this graph, a year later, I knew what this meant. I didn't know what this meant when I made it. I was just showing the legislature how the rules were being manipulated in this county. Now, I know the names of every one of these voters. I know the names of every one of them. So I went back and checked. And I found the strangest thing. In 1996, 50,000 people were registered, and none of them voted. I spent a day trying to figure out what was wrong with my software. Why can't I find these people, because I always write my own software for all this. I can't figure out why these people didn't vote. 1998, none of them voted. 2000, none of them voted. Why would you add 50,000 people to the rolls in a blob like that and none of them vote? None of them. 2002, 10,000. 2004.
That's right. Have them there ready. If you lose, you bring them in.
30,000 voted.
They weren't losing
2008,
yet.
40,000 voted. By 2010, all 50,000 of them had voted. Guess who those 50,000 people were? They were all people that had moved away 10 years before 1996 and were added back into the rolls. Get it? That's why they never voted. Because they weren't there. Except somebody knew they were there and phased them in. And that's what's happening all through the country. Every single state that I analyze, I see these searches in the 90s that are capitalized later. Now, I don't always have the same records, because you can imagine me asking the California State your past record. But you get the principle, yes? Here's the way I can show you that it's happening in every state. Here's 2016. What's it? Yes. So I made this graph in 2016 with my students. It's from, this is sorted, where Trump was the most popular in Wyoming, to where Trump was the least popular in DC. It's like 80-1 in favor of Hillary. You notice that in Wyoming, Trump was popular about 3-1 ratio, right?
We had nothing like
So what I did
DC.
is
We
I
have
was
nowhere.
teaching my students how to track elections. And I said, so we graphed it all out. And I said, these are the 10 states you need to pay attention to. We with my seniors. I said, print this crap out, hang it in your closet, 4 years, take it out, this is where you need to pay attention. What are those states? Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, Florida, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, New Hampshire, right? It's just, these are just the swing states. This is where you gotta pay attention. So I told them, pay attention to those states in 2020. Okay, so what happened in 2020? Here's what happened in 2020. Here's the ratio from Trump to Biden. By the way, it used to be 3 to 1. What is it now? 2.7 to 1. How much it changes that? 10%. Here's the ratio. The Biden Trump, the even spot is right at Arizona. And the 10 exact states that I told them to pay attention are still the swing states, they still matter. But the reason I want you to see this is because this will blow your mind. So this is 2016. Here's 2020. 2016. Every single state changed 10%. Okay. Why would they do that? Well, because they have put in 10%.
Because they were getting their asses beat. Is what happened. They're getting stomped.
And they needed the
We're winning
whole
everything.
Trump's election, and it still wasn't enough. So they had to turn off the election at 11 o'clock at night and add more people to the rolls and then turn the election back on.
They're at the ballot booth.
I already told you about reconciliation, but I'll just tell you how it comes out. In the state of California, the Secretary of State says that 17,785,000 people voted in 2020, but the voter history, which I have a copy of, I know everybody who voted for the last 20 years in the state. It's what's called voter history. It only has 17 million votes listed in it for 2020. In other words, 714,000 people voted in the state of California, and you don't know who they are. Get it?
So the Secretary of State report represents what?
The talents.
Where did that come from?
Where'd I get that?
No, where did the Secretary of State get it?
The counties report the numbers?
That's what's reported by the county. What's the voter history? Where did that come from?
If you ask for a voter history scroll, the state will give you a list. It's a huge file. You can't look at it without special software, which I wrote my own so I could do that.
Yeah.
It's a big list. It lists all the ballots that have been cast in every county since 2000. Every ballot.
Terabytes.
And so what I had to do is I had to write software that reads through it, reads every line, and finds out how many, which election did they vote, which election did they vote. And you add it up, and it's 17,070,098. In other words, it's missing 714,000.
The county reported 17.85 million.
No, the counties reported this.
Where they-
Well, no, I'm sorry, you're right. The counties reported this number.
Okay. Each individual, 58 counties give a number.
Yes.
And they calculated. it
Yes.
out, and that's 17.85.
But the laws, the rolls contain this many. So if you ask who voted, they can't tell you because it's not in their own log. Does that make sense?
Can the counties go back and say, okay, I gave the Secretary of State one number, but.
Here's what Sacramento did. This is the number the Sacramento gave, and this is the number that's in the rolls. They're missing 25.
They should be asking Sue
So
Frost
just go
these
ahead.
questions.
Please do. Ask your ROB. Please give me a list of everybody who voted in the election. And you know what? It's going to be less than this now. Because of the system they use, they're constantly deleting voters from it over time.
Because we don't know who they are. It's just a phantom
Don't
vote.
know
It's
who
crazy.
voted anymore. It's a mess.
It changes every 30 days.
Only 30 days.
Well, we have 30 days before the election, we had the day after the election, and now we're gonna get 30 days, and every number is different.
And every number is different. The number of people, exactly, and it never reconciles. And the number they give you is always way less than what was reported on election day. Even when you get the one from the day after, even when you get the one from a month after, they're always way less than the total tally reported. You want me to stop? No, you're not, brother. I came back to stop.
Stop.
I lost every time.
No, that's okay. We got about a half an hour to go.
Oh, we're good.
Okay, so we're gonna wanna do some questions.
Yes.
So, are you getting your money's worth? It was free so far. Are you getting your money's worth? Okay. So
couple of bucks or whatever you think this is worth. We're gonna start passing the hat on both sides. What is freedom
Well, they're
worth?
buying
That's
cash.
how you judge what you put in the bucket.
I don't even have my wallet on me.
Is all of you that registered for this event, we're going to be sending you an email. Okay, quiet, this is important. We're gonna be sending out a follow-up email to find out if you want to be involved in the canvassing, because we've got an educational training program going. So instead of bothering you with contact information, you look for an email, a thank you email for coming, and respond to that, and we'll sign you up for the training to do the canvassing. The canvassing that Dr. Frank has been talking about, when you knock on a door and the voter roll says 6 people voted, but only 2 people live there. That's the kind of canvassing that we're doing. If you want to be a part of that, you're going to get an email, respond, and we'll get you into the training. In the meantime, I'm going to turn it back to Dr. Frank. I'll be here. If you have a question, you can get me afterwards.
Jack, can I just read it?
Yeah.
You are a Steve Board member, a secretary member, or anything like that.
You're not allowed to do the canvassing.
Yeah, can I canvass if you're like a central committee member or a state board member?
Okay. You can't canvass if you're a central committee member. So, anyway.
Why is that?
What I'm gonna try to do then is I'm gonna try to.
You don't want to be a central committee member.
And I'm gonna try to do it in 10 minutes, and then save some time for questions, okay?
Probably conflict of interest. So it doesn't look like Republicans are trying to influence the election. That way it's non-biased, non-partisan. They can't say, oh, conservatives were going out, especially the GOP. You know what I mean? GOP's crooked. I wouldn't want them representing me. You know what I mean? I want a non-biased party. Counting it, I don't care. Every election should be.
All right, I'm gonna talk my 10 talk over here.
Yes.
I'm gonna go fast, I promise. All right, so imagine you have a 20-sided die, and you roll it 83 times. You roll it, and here we are in Sacramento, and you roll it 83 times, and you get 83 numbers, and you write them down. That's not 83, but you get the idea, right? And then let's say you go to Sonoma County, and you roll it 83 times, and you get the same 83 numbers in the same order. Would you believe that?
No.
And that was only 2 counties.
It's a statistical
What if
anomaly.
you go to now to San Diego and you get the same 83 numbers? What if you go to every county in California and you get the same
Statistical anomaly.
Do you believe that's a real die?
No.
No.
Jack,
But here's the kicker.
Can I pay with a card? I have my wallet. Can I pay you via card or something? I have my ATM card in the car. I want cash.
Don't worry about it.
And
I got you.
But it's the same 83 numbers in every county in Oregon. And then you step over the border to Washington and it's a new set of 83 numbers, but it's the same in every county there. What do you know? You know that this die is being controlled by state, and it's the same in every county. That's what you know, right? Those 83 numbers are 83 ages. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, all the way up to 100. And what I am able to do, and what I discovered, which might be a movie about me, which I figured out in Pennsylvania, was that once I look at one county in a state, and I know how many 18-year-olds voted in a county, and 19-year-olds voted in that county, and 20, once I know how many of each age voted in that county, I can predict how many voted in every other county in that state to ridiculous accuracy. And I should be able to do that.
No.
Because there are different kinds of counties. There's urban counties, there's rural counties, there's black counties, there's white counties, there's Mexican counties. There's all kinds of different kind of counties, yet they all vote in the exact same relative proportion. That's not reasonable. That ain't natural, buddy. And that's what I'm gonna show you. So let me show you how I'm gonna show it to you. So here's up to 10 counties. And what I've done is I've shown you the ages across the bottom from 18 to 100. This is the ages, and this is how many people there are of each age, the blue curve. And then the black curve is how many of those people are registered by age. And then the red curve is how many voted by age. Got it? Yeah. Pretty simple. Okay. And I'm gonna call the ratio between the black and the red, I'm gonna call that the registration people.
I used to call it the tall six-story polynomial, but it freaks people out. So I just call it the registration, okay? Just call it the key. Here's the California registration key. What it is it's from 18 to 100, actually the past is that, showing you the relative percentage of every age that vote in every county. In other words, as soon as I know the shape of this curve, I can predict the number of voters of every age in every county. Well, wait a minute, Frank, that's a smooth curve. It is a smooth curve, it's a function, it's a polynomial, it's a sixth-order polynomial. The thing about it that's surprising, I'm a physicist. What do physicists do? We get lots of data, we analyze it, we find a model, and then we make predictions. This is exactly what I do. So let's do it. Here's Alameda County, begins with A. Begins with A. So here's the population. This population I got from right from the census. It's the 2019 U.S. Census, because that was the census in operation during the election. They don't report the 2020 census till after 2020, right? So that's the census that was in operation during the election. The black curve is who's registered to vote in Alameda County. The red curve is who voted, apparently. And then the light blue curve is my prediction based upon the six-order polynomial. And the as I was just saying, and then this number here, R factor. If this number is 1,
Confidence interval. It's crazy.
Now, the reason I'm showing you a prediction is not to try to say that I can predict it.
I love statistics.
That's not why I'm showing you the prediction. The reason I'm showing you the prediction is I want you to see that it's the same.
It's predictable.
Or that it's the same. And all I need to do is look at one county, and then I can predict all the others. I shouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
Okay, some people say, well, geez, Dr. Frank, why do you pick one county? I don't do that, because if I pick one county, then I can't use it. I can't show that county, because of course I can predict one county, it's itself. So I usually pick 3 counties and average together, and then use that for the little state, and I can use all the counties, if that makes sense. That's what I do. The point is, if they're all the same, it doesn't really matter how you do it. It doesn't matter how you pick it. The point is, they're all the same. So I'm not trying to say that I'm a prophet and that I can predict. I'm trying to say to you, they're all the same. And it shouldn't be the same. Get it? So let's do it. So I just want you to think I'm cherry picking. I'm going to show you every county in California. And what you're going to notice is in a lot of the cases, everybody's voting in certain ages. And the predictions are ridiculously good. In some places, they have more population than, with that one. In some places, you have more population, more people registered than you have population. I'm not really worried about little wiggles because the population could be off the road. The census could be off. But in principle, I'll show you in a second. You get the idea though? I don't want you to think I'm cherry picking. I can do them all. And I just want you to see that in principle, a lot of the counties, the black curve matches the blue curve everywhere. They've got everybody registered. There'll be an example here again in a second. You get the idea. And then, you know. And the turnouts are always higher. Yeah. So here's Sacramento. Now I just want you to think about this. This is Sacramento. The blue curve is your population, the black is registered, the red is who voted. Now I want you to look. What a beautiful, it's like a perfect, it's like, look at the black curve and the red curve. It's like they're perfect mirrors of each other, right? Why? Because remember that smooth curve is the ratio between the two. It's ridiculous. But look at the turnouts. They're stunningly good. This is why they have to inflate the rolls. Because if they don't make the black line go higher, you would have to say that all those people voted with 100% consistency. Yeah. So you have to inflate the rolls bigger than the number of votes. Which is why in other states where they really needed, like in Wisconsin and Michigan, they had to push the black lines above the blue curve. And I can show you those states. They had to push it above because they needed the votes, the stuff. But by the way, everything in that is just data, except for my light blue curve. And you can just ignore the light blue curve. The rest is just data. It's your own data from your own rolls. Anybody who looks at that's going to say, that ain't natural, buddy. right? And the turnout being so perfect for all those ages, I don't believe that. If the turnout, let's say it was 80%. Let's say that 80% of everybody above 70 years old who's registered voted. Then that means the red curve would be lower, right? And the black curve, it would be lower. Well, guess what? If all you did is just knock on all these doors, you have about a 1 in 5 hit rate. Yes! Yes, they're exactly. Yes, it is all 2020, because I'm still waiting to get the 22 numbers. Give me the 22 numbers and I'll do this again. But you don't need to wait for 2022 to start canvassing. You can prove fraud in the 2020 election, it's still fraud in your elections. Yes, it's still fraud, and you're gonna find out later, they're gonna reuse the ones that were used in 2020. So you'll find them in 2020, and then when they come out in 22, you see they voted again. You've already proved. Now it's even better. We've been doing this in the state of Washington. They absolutely reuse them. That's the 2019 census. Because we didn't have the 2020 census yet. I made these graphs when a while back. In August.
So are the voter registration rolls?
Epic Bible
I don't
College.
think that voter, I don't think your ROV even ever looked at a census before. But there are, and if you watch the movie Scientific Proof, I explain how they're filling the rolls using the census. It's one of the algorithms I found. I wasn't going to go into that today. I could go for hours, and I'll tire you guys. And I promise I was.
Yeah, Epic Bible College on Auburn Boulevard, Citrus Heights, North Highlands area.
Have people that are manipulating the machines to do this, or is this is, I mean, who's doing? Is this through Indian?
So it's not any one election machine. What we proved in Wisconsin, what we proved in Texas, what we proved in Georgia, what we proved in Pennsylvania, we've proven it in states where we could get FOIA information, is we've proven that most of it's CTCL, the Center for Tech and Civic Life. That's the Zuckerbucks. The Zuckerbucks.
We got 1.5 million here in Sacramento.
Wow.
No, they're talking about election integrity. He's talking about the votes from the 2020 election. I just wanted to let it go live so people could hear what he had to say. He's like a Mike Lindell guy.
Oh, they put out the bell boxes, the drop boxes that everybody can put in. Oh, yeah. You couldn't take the money if you didn't put out drop boxes.
Is this illegal? I mean, are these people
Yeah, of course.
Him, Jack.
You don't need a conspiracy, because the black market will deliver the ballots in multiple different ways. I could go into several ways that we already know and have exposed, how printers are printing the ballots, how they're being harvested. The fact is they're very valuable, so there's like a trade in them. You can buy them and stuff. And as long as you have mail-in ballots, you're giving away your right. You don't have to have in-person voting. There isn't one good legislature in this country. There are good legislators, but there isn't one. Every single legislature in the country. South Dakota, when I was in South Dakota in March, the day I was there, they passed a new law downgrading election fraud from a felony to a misdemeanor. While I was there, that's South Dakota. All right. So anyway, you guys get that? All right. We'll call that the end, and we'll take questions. Yes.
Okay, so the voters are being inserted, being removed. How is that being done, and who is inserting? CPCL, are they hacking into the voting computers and voting rolls and inserting these people?
I just want to go back to your account. You say they're being added into the news. I'm going back to that draft of you guys. Sacramento.
They're not people, but they're names, they're inserting these names. Who is they, how do we access it?
I just want you to recognize something.
It's the World Economic Forum, dude. It's the leaders. It's the elites. It's the globalists.
You're saying you're adding and removing voters from the rolls.
It looks to me that they're mostly adding voters. Yes?
Yeah.
It does look like there are small corrections, right? But they're adding way more than they're correcting out.
The DMV is adding them?
Yeah, mostly probably, yeah.
On the border.
And then anybody who signs up as well. If you're on welfare, you have to register to vote. If you receive any kind of social services, you have to register to vote.
So every illegal alien.
So you've got a system set up where you're registering people faster than ever before. And you're gonna be like the other states, you're gonna have more people registered than people at this rate.
But we have people moving out of our county because
Right.
they're abandoning the county, so it's even more dramatic.
Yeah, you've been flat for quite a while, yeah, your goals are still shooting up. All right, wait, yes, sir, Ken, hi, Ken, I recognize you've been here before. Go, what's up? How do we win the House if everything is so controlled?
Yeah, I'm wondering.
You win?
The election is already done. The election was decided at the primaries. The primaries is when it was decided who was gonna win. Because all of your grassroots candidates, they eliminated in the primaries, remember? It's the establishment that's
Yes.
protecting the establishment.
That's right.
And, you know, I guess that's probably one of my most disappointing things, traveling the country and meeting people, is that, and I see your hand, you be next, is that like, when I sit with the Secretary of State and I show him the fraud and he agrees the fraud, or in another state, and I show him how to hack and he agrees that he can be hacked, and I've done that a couple of dozen times now, you would think they would act. But there's always a reason why they won't. And sometimes it's because they're compromised, sometimes it's because they have a different agenda, sometimes they want money from somebody, donations, and if they bring that up, then they get that. There's always a political navigation reason why they won't do it. And it's very frustrating. I'll tell you the story. So remember I told you I was flying around the country collecting signatures for Mike on his Supreme Court complaint last Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving. I had 7 signatures. And Mike was excited. We were going to drop the lawsuit on the following Tuesday, right before Thanksgiving. He wanted it to be the talk of Thanksgiving, if you remember. He was hyping it all up. Yes, we're going to drop the big lawsuit. It's going to be on Tuesday. We're going to deliver it to the Supreme Court on Tuesday. Remember, he was making a big deal out of it. That's Mike's biggest downfall, is he tells the bad guys what we're doing. Okay? Over the weekend, Ronna McDaniels, head of the RNC, called every one of the people on our signatories and told them if they stayed on that lawsuit, they would lose all federal support from the GOP.
Wow.
Who's our enemy?
GOP?
Democrats?
Oh, sorry.
The Republican Party stopped us from having a lawsuit in the Supreme Court. And by the way, the reason we want a Supreme Court lawsuit is we have whistleblowers who need whistleblower protection and secret witness protection. And we have grand jury kinds of protection, because we have serious evidence that can only be presented in that situation. And that's why we were pushing so hard for that case, because we want that evidence, and we can't do it until we get to that level, because we need people to be able to disappear after they testify and stuff like that. You need to have whistleblower protection big time. And I promise this guy, he's been so patient.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, all right, well,
Really good.
when you remember, I owe you one.
If I do.
Okay, yes, sir.
Oh, I do, okay, so.
You remember-
Nancy Pelosi was predicted to be fired in this,
I don't know, I didn't make that prediction.
but you just said everybody was
Oh, everybody was decided.
correct, that's what you
Yeah.
said. So
Yeah.
she was decided to be out because I don't feel that way.
You know, maybe my phrase, everybody is sloppy, for the most part, how about that? Sometimes I get a little sloppy in front of a group, I mean, maybe more technically correct.
Collateral damage.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I get the fact that the machines are instrumental causes to this corruption that we're.
They're instrumental.
They're instrumental causes, but you're also pointing out that in Arizona, the paper ballots were compromised.
Yes.
So the machines facilitate cheating,
Yes.
but it can still happen with paper ballots.
Yes.
So it seems to me that the problem is the people behind the entire system that's disrupting the entire arrangement. And so if that's true, then what I think that your suggestion to us is that we're in a legal fight. We have to take these things to the courts and in the court of public opinion. But if we can't, if we have bought legislators, I mean,
Yes.
legislations, I mean, the whole
Yes.
organization, then there's only the courts is left.
No, the courts are on too. Only the people are left, which is why this is what I do every day.
I'm about to drop the sovereign
And which is why
question.
I want you to find the fraud yourself. And when you find the fraud yourself and you tell your friends you found the fraud yourself, now you are being
But then you
dishonest.
take that to the sheriff, or you take that into.
That's where the sheriff comes
So
in.
you have a legal contest at some point.
So if you have a good sheriff here, that's okay. They have good sheriffs in the next county perhaps. And you still want to find fraud in every county, but then the good sheriffs will step up. And they'll find each other's fines, and there'll be enough good sheriffs. And I bet you've got at least 4 or 5 in the state already that are coming up. We're coaxing them into their position. They're reminding them what their job is. Then, if you find it, the fraud in every county, then yes, it comes together. See where I'm going? I'm putting the power.
Agreed, Matt. Bring the whole
I'm not
fucking
asking
thing
you to
down.
have a revolution. I'm not asking you to be violent. I'm asking you to take the power back that you own as a citizen. But we're finding every way that you can get it.
We're not citizens, that's the problem.
You don't keep going. You need to keep doing that, but without the underwhelming pressure of the fraud, you're not going to have any. Because you're just a wacko. You're just a conservative. And this guy promised. Yes, I promised this guy. Can I get it? Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, the voter fraud that I had, I was looking at an online website of all the deductions of remaining votes and what was getting tallied. So 560,000 was deducted, but only 34,000 was given to Gavin Newsom and 25,000 was given to Brian Nolan. The other 500.
It doesn't reconcile.
What was that?
It doesn't reconcile.
No, what do you mean? Correct.
All the numbers don't add up.
Well, no, 500,000 was deducted, 60,000 was added, and they kept deducting.
Yes.
So, and I have screenshots of it, or you would not know those numbers
Oh,
did not
boy.
add up.
That's another discussion, but you're talking about the Edison numbers. You're talking about the reported numbers in the media. They're all phony.
Okay, so 500,000 of them just being magically.
That Edison series is a complete fiction.
Well, I'm confused on what you're saying. I need a brighter definition, because you.
I know, and that's another discussion, and I can tell I'm getting the hook. But, in other words, what you see on TV isn't real.
Yeah, it's a good one right there. What you see on TV isn't real. That should be the number one rule for everybody. If you saw it on TV, it's not real. Fucking A. Great answer. Yeah. Exactly, bro. There's nothing to do. Nothing we can do.
Okay, so we have a mystery guest in the audience that publishes COVID Times. Yeah! It's got a picture of I'm saying it has a picture of a scientist on it. Oh, no. He's an election denier down in Minnesota.
He was gonna let me write an article. He never called me.
I've got to get him to his hotel because he's got work to do tomorrow. This was his fun tonight, but he's got work to do tomorrow. It's really important. So I wanted to thank all of you for reaching into your wallet. We have, Dr. Frank, enough money to cover your plane fare and enough to take your wife out to dinner.
Should get more than that. Not enough to pay for the gas to get to the airport, though. You know what I'm saying? You got to pay for that yourself.
Most of you probably already know this, but if you don't know this, the world premiere to suddenly die?
World premiere to suddenly die. Everyone's suddenly dying. There you go. Stu Peters died suddenly.
It's free, it's all over the internet.
It's all over the internet.
Watch it.
It's on Rumble.
BitChute.
You must watch it.
It's on Telegram.
It's called World Premiere Died Suddenly.
I'll post it on my page for all you people that don't know where to find it. I'll share it.
Died suddenly on Rumble. The scabs and the smoke in the mirrors being lifted and the raw, horrible death of the COVID vaccine started.
Oh, the stuff that I've been talking about for 5 years, huh? Starting to come out.
Anyway, so
You hear that, folks?
thank you all for coming.
The GOP is starting to wake up to the
Emails so that you
vaccines.
can sign up to do some
The
canvassing.
GOP. I'm gonna be canvassing, boy. You best bet I'm gonna use that free canvassing to tell people who I am. Yeah, buddy. Not a bad amount of people here. I mean, a lot of people left because it was over, but I'd say overall it was pretty good. I'm gonna go say what's up to a few people. Let's see if there's one, two. So overall, it was a good show. Dr. Frank was pretty dope. I mean, like I said, look at the people. Pretty decent group of people showed up. So yeah, I'm glad I came. I'm gonna go ask some questions. I heard Dr. Frank worked at DARPA. Do you think it'd be inappropriate to ask him any questions about DARPA? See if I can leave you guys live so I can ask him these questions and see how he responds. I'll go and say hi to some people. Are you leaving, Marina? Or are you gonna hang out for a few? I'm gonna go say hi to some people, see if I can't troll a few people. Yeah. Go say hi to people who are afraid to say hi to me in public.
I didn't want to be known.
No, and I understand. What's up,
How are you, big guy? Nice to see you, sir. How are you, sir?
You too. I just talked about you today.
Good.
With who was I
How are
on
you,
the air
Dan?
with?
How are you? Nice to see you
Talking
again,
about
sir.
you. How'd you do? Did you win?
I got 2,700 votes. I mean, I got 18% of the vote. See, that's not bad. For being a a crazy whatever. But the person that, Tanya, hi. Tanya, the person that ran it.
Hi, I'm Linda.
How are you?
We talked before.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
Good.
I wanted to see how you're doing.
I'm going to stop the live so I can talk to my friends, but I appreciate you guys. No, you're good. Hour and a half's a good time to end.
You've seen the movie?
I did today. I did today.